Well, there's never a dull moment on CR Sim Racing. Hello everyone, welcome to iRacing, a sim where we've had our fair share of bad starts, but none as messy or as chaotic as this one. We lost more than half the grid, incredibly, before they'd even crossed the start line to officially begin this race. Now, these Porsche Cup cars are a handful, so I was expecting carnage at Laguna Seca for the final round of the season. I was just expecting to see it in the corkscrew, not before we'd even made it to T1. Now, we've qualified P10 on a grid of 21, so we are slap bang in the middle of this disaster. So the big question is, can we survive this wreck and can we salvage a decent position to end the iRacing season on a high? Let's get down to the grid and find out. Well, as we wait for the lights to go green, I'm beginning to fill with dread. I just don't know how 21 of these Porsches are going to get through the corkscrew on lap 1, or in fact, are we even going to make it that far? We're underway, the lights are green, already 2 cars get collected in front. Oh, we've been tagged from behind and we've been spun around 360 degrees into the wall. Have we picked up damage? Luckily, we're facing the right way. We can get back going again. Well, I saw 2 cars get collected on the left, then I saw another 2 cars go right across the track, spear into the wall on the right-hand side. My instinct was just to lift off the throttle slightly, and that caused me to get tagged from behind. It spun me around. It looks like we've got away with it. We've had no message from crew chief to say we're carrying damage. The car seems to be handling okay. And I tell you what, we might have dodged a bullet there, because look at the gap back to the driver behind us. We're almost 9 seconds clear of anyone else. There were 11 drivers behind us on the grid and not one of them has made it through that wreck. We must have been the last car to come through. Well, I wasn't expecting this. All of my pre-race worries were about lap 1 of the corkscrew and being taken out in the melee, but incredibly, we're going to reach the corkscrew with an 8-second advantage over the driver behind us. But let's not count our chickens. We've still got to get through the corkscrew ourselves. Someone hasn't. There's a car out on the gravel to the left. That's Benjamin Zaya. Now, Zaya started just behind me on the grid, and I think it was him that tagged me and caused me to spin in that melee. So he obviously made it through. However, he didn't make it through the corkscrew. Emerson Gowdin's the next driver ahead, and he's going into the pits, so that'll be another position gained. That's either a drive-through penalty for a jump start, or maybe he got tagged in the crash and needs to repair some damage. We're going to cross the line to end lap 1. I've got no idea what position we're in, but let's look to the board and we're up to 6th place. So yeah, we've got so lucky to avoid that pile-up. Let's go back and take a look at it. Okay, keep one eye on me in the green and white, but also one eye on Benjamin Zaya in the orange Jägermeister car. He's going to swerve out to avoid the cars in front. That's going to cause him to run into the rear of me and spin me right around, but we can't see the full extent of the wreckage from that angle. We're on board with Zaya now, and he's going to have to suddenly swerve out to avoid the cars in front. He swerves right into me and spins me around. But let's check it out from another angle and we can see what happens behind. There'll be an incident to the right just off screen now, which causes all the cars behind to try and swerve, and it's just a chain reaction. A domino effect as all 11 cars behind me pile in, and look at the scenes we're leaving behind us. Now we're going to take a closer look at that incident at the end of the race so we can try and assess what actually caused that carnage, but for now we're going to see what happened in the rest of the race. And we picked up 1 position before the first lap was even out. That was Zaya getting it all wrong in the corkscrew. So returning to the live action, we're now on lap 3, and as you can see we're still in 6th place. Zaya is still just behind, about 1 second back as we approach the corkscrew for the 3rd time. Now, we seem to be just a little bit quicker than Zaya, so I'm confident that I might be able to open the gap a bit more here. But the real danger man is Jason Davies down in 8th. Davies started right at the back of the grid, probably far enough back to weave his way through that wreckage safely. And he's been posting some really fast lap times, nearly 2 seconds faster than the ones I'm putting in. So unless Zaya can hold him off, we can expect some company from him very soon. Well, Zaya couldn't hold him off. By lap 5, that 4-second gap was down to nothing. Davies all over the back of Zaya now, and you can see Zaya pulls to one side. He's going to let the faster driver through. So now Davies is going to be in hot pursuit of me, and he's not going to take him long to catch us. Yeah, not long at all. The next lap, in fact. As you can see, we're approaching the corkscrew for the 6th time, and he's now within a second of us. We're going to run it in just a little bit too hot. We missed the apex on the entry to the corkscrew. That's going to cost us a couple of tenths, and that's all that Davies needs to jump right on our rear spoiler here. Now, I'm not going to fight for this position. He's closed a 4-second gap over the space of just 2 laps, so he's clearly got a lot more pace than I have, so it seems foolish to try and defend the position and risk another accident, so we're just going to open the door for him there into the final turn. And with Davies ahead of us, it gives us a great target to chase, which will hopefully help us open up a bigger gap over Zaya down in 8th. You can see it's already grown to 6 seconds. Well, Davies cleared right off. There was no way I could keep up with him. He was in hot pursuit of Stefano Cippani in 5th position, and he finally caught him and passed him on the last corner. But at the start of lap 13, he's just got himself in front, and he pushes just a little bit too hard. The rear steps out, and he's given that position right back to Cippani. On board with us then, and you can see the gap is coming down after that Davies crash. It's 6.6 seconds. Still too far enough for me to catch him, unless we get a bit of luck. And there's the luck. Davies has binned it again. There he is, and there he goes. Davies is out of the race. Clearly just pushing too hard, and with 7 laps to go, we're back into 6th. Yeah, there was no contact with other cars or trackside scenery in his first spin, but the same can't be said for this one. Once again, the rear steps out. It sends him into the barrier, and back to the pits. Well, the next few laps were pretty lonely for me, and to be honest with you, that was a relief. We continued to gap Benjamin Zaya every lap, and as you can see now, we've got 2 laps to go, and we're 15 seconds clear, so we're under no pressure at all for this 6th position. We have just closed in on a couple of back markers, but because we're under no pressure from Zaya, I'm not going to take any chances at all in getting around these slower drivers. 6th position for me would be an absolutely fantastic result in a car that I'm not familiar or confident with. So the last thing we want to do is throw it all away now with 2 laps to go, trying to get round a slow driver. We will have an opportunity though at the inside. I don't particularly want to go too wide into this left-hander, but he's eased off Joe Bates there and he's led us through. So really courteous driving from Bates. So we'll fast forward to the final lap, and at the same part of the track I get an opportunity to pass the other back marker, Bert de Keyser. However, I'm going to think better of it this time. I wasn't quite as close as I was to Bates this time a lap ago, so we just eased off, but instead de Keyser's going to let us go by on the hill up to the corkscrew. So again, really thoughtful and considerate driving there from the back markers. And now we've got around both of them safely. We're only a few corners from home, so we can finally start to think about celebrating that 6th position. Well, I feared the worst at the start of this race, and the worst materialised in the form of the worst start ever, but this was one of the rare occasions when we got lucky and avoided any damage, crossing the line to take 6th and a nice little iRating boost there. We're up to 1520. No surprises that the safety rating took a slight hit after that lap 1 melee. Ultimately though, this race was shaped by what happened before the majority of the grid had even passed the green flag. So what caused this one then? Well, we see from this angle that there was a car fairly well up the grid that spanned first. And it was actually one of the fastest drivers on the track. Toshihiko Suzuki qualified in 3rd. He's there in the white car and you can just see he gives it too much gas. The rear spins around and after that it is an absolute free-for-all. So what can you do if this happens in front of you on the start line? Well, you can either slow down or swerve. We're riding on board with Trevor Pearl now. He was right behind. He slows down, but of course when you do that, you're probably going to get rammed from behind, and that's exactly what happens to Trevor here. The alternative then is to swerve around the instant, but then that causes the chain reaction that sees so many drivers crash out. You really are damned if you do and damned if you don't. I can't see any way around this. What on earth do you do in this situation? What I can do is explain my thought process as the incident unfolded. Now I'm going to see 2 cars come together on the left, then I'm going to see a car slide across the middle of the track. At that point, I lift off the gas right there. And the second I do that, it's out of my hands. I've got no control on what's happening behind me. It's a split-second decision. Do you keep your foot on the gas or do you lift? I personally think that the responsible thing to do is to always lift and take care. But of course, every time you do that, you will get clouted from behind. It's a no-win situation. In fact, the only place where you're truly safe is if you're at the very back of the grid. We're on board with Jason Davies, who started from the very back row. Now, he's not going to barge his way through. He's just going to ease off and wait for the path to clear. Really sensible driving from Davies here. He's not going to pick up any damage. For those who do pick up damage, have got no choice but to call for a tow, and you can do this in 2 ways. The correct way, like the driver on the left, just pull into the side where it's safe, or the wrong way, like this driver who decides just to stop on the middle of the racing line. Well, I've watched this incident again and again, and I don't think I'm any the wiser. I think it's just one of those things that happens. There's no way of avoiding it, and if you get caught up in it, it's just bad luck. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. In an ideal world, I'd love to see sim racers slow down anytime there's an incident ahead or a yellow flag comes out, but in reality, we know that that's never going to happen. So when something like this occurs, I think you've just got to pray for some good luck. And that's what we got today to get through that unscathed. And there's the classified results. We finish in 6th position. And I think if I'm going to continue with this car next season, I'm really going to have to put some practice in. This series is not the type that you can just jump in and jump out of. It is tough. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.